Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Bruner. This is where we recap some of the top guests you heard over the past week on Eye on Northeast Kansas, the TV show. Our show comes to you live 4 o'clock Central Time, Monday through Friday from our WIBW TV studios in Topeka, Kansas. We stream live on WIBW.com every day if you'd care to tune in. We are headed into the holiday season, or in the thick of the holiday season, actually, which means we have been spending a lot of time talking about some great community activities, a lot of them coming back after some years off during the COVID pandemic. But all of those guests, you can find videos and hear their comments on WIBW.com. It's a great time of year. We also welcomed in some new faces to the studio, or at least familiar faces in new roles. That includes the new leader of the Washburn Institute of Technology. The new dean is Scott Smathers, and he told us about his priorities and vision for the school. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You know, maybe people aren't familiar with you, Scott, but you certainly are familiar with Topeka. Where have you been all these years? What have you been doing?
Well, I came to Topeka about 10 years ago, worked at Topeka for about 3 years, and then the last 7 years have been at the Board of Regents, where I've learned a lot more about Washburn Tech and all the other institutions around the state.
What drew you to Washburn Tech? I mean, the Regents, you deal with the four-year universities as well. What about the technical aspect of education drew your attention?
Well, the technical education, I mean, it's people who are going to stay local. It's people who are, they're critical to our day-to-day operations, and there's just so much potential at Washburn Tech with all the opportunities, with our business growth, with everything else that's going on. So I'm really excited to be there and see what we can do.
1 week on the job. Hopefully you've learned your way to the break room by now, but what are your priorities as you continue on at Washburn Tech?
Well, I think there's four really. The first, of course, is we have a great faculty and staff, and it's really talk to them and meet them and make sure we continue to retain them, which is critical. I need to get out and talk more to the high schools. We've been working on building our relationships with them. We have a good relationship, but I'd like to increase that and grow that. Also with Washburn University itself, I'd like to see how we can smooth the transition between Washburn Tech and Washburn University. And then last, and of course most importantly, business and industry. We have to get out and make sure we're meeting the workforce needs of our businesses.
Which is a big issue right now. The Regents have talked about that as well, as kind of doing these reviews of our programs and ensuring that what you offer is what people need.
Absolutely. With business and industry, as you know, with technology changing, AI and everything else that's coming into play, there's just so much going on that we have to try to keep up and make sure that we're teaching our students what business and industry is going to need when they walk out. They can be able to work and be effective.
While you do all of that, what are some of the challenges in technical education right now?
Well, as we said, I think funding and keeping up with the technology is number one. Number two is we really have to build the pipeline of students up so that we are meeting the amount of workers that business and industry needs, because they are asking for so much. As you well know, business and industry has been growing throughout the state. A lot of high-tech jobs, whether you're talking chips, whether you're talking the Panasonic plant, whether you're talking a variety of places that are out there. And so we really have to make sure we're graduating the students that are going to be able to meet the needs of those businesses coming in.
You mentioned some very skilled things, because I would think that that's one of the challenges as well, is getting past this perception that technical school means auto body repair and welding classes. There's more than that.
There is, but I mean, it does include that, because
those
right now, which everybody needs, right? I mean, we're desperately for that, even to build the buildings. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. You have anything, we have medical, we have over 30 programs. So you have medical, you have nursing, and of course that's part of medical, but you have computer support and just all kinds of programs that are out there right now, graphics design and everything that's needed. You
have some skilled repair programs as well to deal with the higher tech of manufacturing right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at automotive and diesel, for instance, you're really dealing, when you look at your car, I'm old enough to remember kind of how the old cars used to operate.
I am too.
And so you now get with the cars and you're really dealing with a computer in a lot of cases. And so the people are learning how to work with that, and your diesel and your HVAC and everything that's going on, and you have the energy efficiency, you have electric cars, and so all that's coming into play as well.
And is that where the opportunity lies? Where do you see the greatest opportunities for Washburn Tech?
Boy, I'd say all those areas right now. I mean, we used to sit there and say, okay, so what industry do we really need to get people ready for that we're going to be able to get them prepared for? But our biggest problem right now is every industry is screaming for people, whether you're talking about auto mechanics, HVAC, plumbing, computer support, medical. Everybody is screaming for employees right now, and you can really make a good living when you get those jobs and get those skills. They're paying a really good livable wage.
So if people's interest is piqued, when does the spring semester start? And can we still sign up for some of these things?
Absolutely. We'd love to have people contact us. The semester starts the 8th of January. We have over 30 programs, as I said. We have scholarships, we have apprenticeships, we have internships, and in addition, as you know, life happens. So if people didn't get their high school degree, or if somebody maybe has come from overseas and needs some English language acquisition type help, we have that offered as well, and we would love for people to contact us. Be glad to help.
Well, we look forward to continuing to visit with you as you work toward meeting all those goals and priorities that you have. Dean Smathers, thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we look forward to catching up with Dean Smathers in the weeks and months ahead. An exciting time at Washburn Tech. We've talked a lot about the PACT Act and ways that veterans who perhaps didn't have conditions that were covered before could get some coverage now. We had guests from the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs, as well as the VA Eastern Kansas healthcare system, as they continue to spread the word on how veterans can get information that could be vital to their care. It is not too late for veterans to apply for benefits under the PACT Act. The Veterans Administration wants to be sure everyone who's eligible knows about it. Retired Army Brigadier General Bill Turner is Executive Director of the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs. He is here today with the Deputy Director and retired Air Force Master Sergeant Eric Rohleder and Denise Cunningham, who's the Interim Communications Director for the VA Eastern Kansas Health System. I had to be sure I didn't just mention Army and not Air Force, and Air Force and not Army. I know how that goes. This is very important for veterans. Bill, what does the PACT Act do?
So the PACT Act was something, it was a legislation that was instituted back on August 10th of 2022. And what this does, it helps raise awareness for various exposures to toxins that our veterans have encountered during multiple deployments over the years. And what it does is it helps increase kind of the health care that's available and various claims that they may have related to that.
We've talked about it quite a bit since it took effect. Eric, how many veterans have taken advantage of it, but how many more potentially could be helped by this?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. So on the healthcare side, quite potentially there could be over 1.4 million more veterans brought into VA Health. Nationwide, about 200,000 service-connected disability claims. Additionally, locally or in Kansas, I believe it's near 14,000 just since 11,000 just since the beginning of August, or when it was implemented, when the PACT Act was implemented.
But you want to be sure that everyone who can benefit from this knows about it. And Denise, that's where you come in. What is the VA Eastern Kansas healthcare system doing to make sure the word gets out and people have a chance to get the information and ask the questions?
So on Saturday, December the 9th, we are having a PACT Act resource fair from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in Building 24 at the Rec Hall on the Topeka campus.
So what will people be able to do? Do they have to go there the whole 3 hours, or what is the procedure that people should kind of expect with that
So
day?
they don't need an appointment. They can just come in. They'll have the opportunity to enroll in VA healthcare. They'll have the opportunity to update or file a claim, a VA disability claim, and they'll have the opportunity to speak with a nurse regarding the toxins.
What should they bring?
They need to bring their
Eric would probably be a good one to answer that.
Yeah, what do you need to bring with you to do all this?
So come on in. If you don't have anything, come on in. But if you do have your discharge paperwork, your DD2 Form 214, any marriage certificate, those types of things, if we're going to apply for a service-connected claim, and any dependency information, those types of things. But really, we can help get all that as well. So come on in. If you're unsure, please, we always tell everybody, if you're a veteran, or even if you think you may be a veteran, come on in. Take a look at it. We'd be able to take a look at an existing claim, which is important as well, to see where they stand in the process. Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't need to currently be enrolled in VA healthcare in order to potentially benefit from PACT Act. This could apply to new enrollees too?
It does, absolutely. New enrollees they're seeking to, and they've had great success right now with the VA, the Eastern Kansas healthcare system. They have a great opportunity to enroll more folks. And then, like Eric was referring to, that it's not just PACT Act related. I guess there's opportunities there for veterans that come in for a number of other things that challenges they may be facing, and we're there to help and advise, assist with all of those. So the PACT Act serves as a great introduction to get folks in there, but then we recognize that there's other challenges that folks are facing, and we're happy to help assist with that.
Is there anything you guys have seen already in just these few months under the PACT Act, the difference that this has made for people? Because I feel like we as journalists have been reporting about this for quite some time. I remember mid to late 90s, folks who had just come back not too long previously from the Gulf, and they were saying, we have these medical conditions, we don't know what's going on, and we can't get anybody to listen. How are you seeing this change and impact those people who are finally getting someone to listen?
I can start for a moment if you'd like. It's helping to raise awareness of it, obviously, and giving an opportunity for these veterans to come out and to be seen. So the health care that they need and that they deserve, they're getting that now from the VA healthcare system. And they're also having an opportunity to apply for these claims that are associated with that. And then also the VA, as part of this, is also conducting extensive research into all of these toxins and their effects on our soldiers and sailors, airmen, Marines. So it's been really a great way to get enhanced health care for all of these folks.
Sounds like something, Eric, that's going to make a difference way into the future.
It absolutely is. Just a real quick success story. We have a veteran service representative in southeast Kansas that helped a surviving spouse. And it's not just the veterans, it's a surviving spouse of a veteran. And we helped her file a claim, and she received a significant, life-changing back pay check. So it's big. It's good. Come on in and see if they qualify for any of those benefits.
Absolutely. You can just ask the question. You don't know until you ask. This is coming up Saturday at the Topeka VA Medical Center, 2200 Southwest Gage. Go to Building 24 in the Rec Hall, or you can go to va.gov/PACT. You can have some information available online to help answer your questions as well. Bill, Eric, Denise, thank you so very much, and hope a lot of folks come and see you on Saturday.
Thank you for all you do for our veterans. Appreciate it.
We are happy to do it. So that information session, again, might be over by the time you are hearing this, but of course that information is always online at va.gov/PACT Act. Check it out. Ask those questions. Reach out to your local advocacy groups to make sure you are getting the benefits that are coming your way. The Shawnee County Commission is looking to the short-term and long-term future. Commissioner Kevin Cook was in the studio to bring us up to date on their efforts. But before 2024, we have already had our first round of winter weather. Crews are busy. I was watching everybody go past out the window of my house. How did it go? How is the winter weather planning going and being executed for Shawnee County already?
You know, I think that overall we saw for Shawnee County roads a really good road clearage. We saw the public works crews getting out and addressing the roads in a really short order. I noticed that when I was going down Topeka Boulevard, as going south on 75 Highway, when we got to the county line, the roads were very clear. Now, I know they were out there working a lot in a lot of different areas, but I think that it's a reminder for us to think about, are we prepared? Do you have sand in your car? Do you have essentials? And, you know, as Dusty Nichols from Emergency Management would say, be prepared. Now's the time. It's not snowing right now. So now's a good time to be prepared.
And you all really didn't have an easing into it. It was right into the fire with a major event right off the bat. What did you learn from that experience? And maybe it was all good, or did you have some lessons that you said, okay, here's what we need to address to make sure we're prepared for next time?
You know, I think that we always look to see what we can do a little bit better. And I think the public works crews, they're always, Kurt Niehaus with his public works department, they really are top notch, looking at what can they do a little bit better, what are some of the things as equipment needs, as they bring that to the budget during August and July, looking at, you know, these are some pieces of equipment that we could really utilize to do the job a little bit better. But we do have our equipment bought, we've got the road supplies, we've got the salt laid out, our different branches are ready to go.
Staff? We have enough staff?
We have enough staff.
That's a very important one.
Absolutely.
KDOT has been saying they struggled ahead of the season. Summer is right after that, and there are some big things coming up. Yesterday you talked about the Oakland pool.
Yes.
Construction not going to quite have things go the way we were hoping in terms of getting a pool open in time for summer in Oakland?
Well, I think that we have to look at the positive. So we have a pool approved plan approved, sorry, get those all mixed up, but it's a double slide, it'll have swim lanes, it'll have a mini lazy river, they call it current river, and it's going to have your traditional diving board. So when we look at what Oakland has right now. Oakland's pool was built in 1965, and really it has very little to no amenities. So this is going to be a huge improvement. We're also going to be moving the pool up closer, so it will be closer to the roadway, closer to the community center. So it's in a little bit different spot, and that's what really branches the concern with the pool. As we're doing that construction work, digging the hole, putting in all the equipment, making sure that our patrons are safe, making sure that the kids are safe, we have a concern with, is that going to interfere with the current pool location, and should we fill the pool and have the public there around the construction? And so that's one of the things we're really looking at. But we are looking at, by July, having that pool open and ready to go.
So hopefully we'll get a few weeks of swimming in. Knock on wood. This is real wood.
Yes.
Family Park also, we're going to
Yes.
be seeing some work there. What's the new timeline? When
Same
might we see?
timeline. Same timeline. So by July of next year, you're going to be looking at some pickleball courts. You're going to be looking at some really interactive playground equipment. They were talking about 2-3 story structures that you're going to be able to climb inside, slide down. So those for the faint of heart, maybe pickleball sounds great. Also some trails, adding more trails to that location. And we see that the trails are the #1 thing that people like to enjoy to use.
I would like you, if you could, in a moment, to touch on what's going to happen next with the wind and solar energy survey that Shawnee County just got back the results on. Really split. So what happens from here, and what is the intent of commissioners in determining what we might see with the future of energy?
So I want to dispel, first and foremost, if you see Facebook posts or signs in your town that say Shawnee County is bringing wind to the county, that is not the case. What happened was we had 2 different proposals for solar in Shawnee County. As part of that process and going through that process with the planning department, it was really highlighted that we had no regulations as it related to wind or solar. So the Shawnee County Planning Commission undertook studying both of these. Now, wind is really not applicable as much to Shawnee County. Between the urbanization areas of Shawnee County, Forbes Field, the Billard Airport, are locations where wind would be even applicable is a very small footprint. But by and large, I think what you're going to see is that there really is no appetite for a solar within Shawnee County, and that what we are looking at is maybe under some circumstances having solar, again, with certain circumstances.
Well, we will stay tuned as those discussions continue and see what sorts of regulations or any proposals. Right now, no formal proposals from any developer on the table. We should point that out, even though people are talking that there might be some people looking into it. We'll keep following the discussions from your end.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cook, thank you so very much. Appreciate
Glad to
you
be
being here. We've been following along with that construction on the parks, and will continue to do so as it begins to take shape. Should be some fun additions to Shawnee County happening in the new year. Speaking of the new year, as this year winds down, it is a good time to touch base on your financial plan. Carl Carlson with Carlson Financial is a regular guest on the show, and he had a great checklist as we wrap up our finances for the year.
Yes, so #1, have a plan.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, that is the start. Yes.
And you got to build it, and you shouldn't wait. So the thing that we often see when someone comes in, we build a financial plan. It shows forecasts and projections. We go all the way to 100, and it shows everything that's happening. This is when your home paid off. This is when you stopped working. This is when you started your Social Security. And all of these numbers work together over time. We get it to a nice balance where it works just the way you want it to work. And then what you need to do, so once you have that built, so oftentimes we'll have someone that will come in and say, oh my gosh, I just got an offer from my company to go ahead and buy out my next 2 years and I can retire now. Can I do it? Okay, and they're giving me 1 week to decide. So now we have the plan built, change this, change that, click, click. Oh, no, you can't. Oh, yes, you can.
Well, and the trick
Like
to that
that.
is making sure it's up to date.
Yeah, so as long as you've been keeping it up to date, you have a plan, you're keeping it up to date, something changes, it's real easy to just tweak it a little bit and say, okay, you're good, no, this, that, and quick decisions, and you're not worrying about, are all these numbers right? Did we get everything right? Are you sure about this? So that's where when somebody comes in fresh with a major decision, they've never had a plan, not only do you have to start the plan and you're not sure, but if you've been tracking it for year by year by year, now everything is kind of refined, then it's real easy to make decisions once a year, once it's built, annually.
Annually is the check-in.
At least, yep, check it. And what you want to do, you want to keep the historic one. So the very first one you built is going to show year by year by year how much your investments were projected to be at the end of each year.
So investments are kind of like, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Yep.
What sorts of factors in each year could change the plan?
Usually the major thing that's changing over several years is how much you were projecting you were going to spend and how much you were going to save.
Okay.
Oftentimes you're spending more than you originally projected you would spend, and you're saving not as much as you thought you might be able to save. So that's where you got to refine that over time. You're checking back, okay, this is what we thought, let's tweak it, let's change it. Now next year, end of the year, let's look at it, how'd we do? Okay, we got to change it a little bit more. And over several years, it really will refine it and start to know where you're at.
And things impact what we can spend and save, certainly our job, but what other things, life happens. So what things in our life would impact that financial plan?
So a big one, inflation. So inflation could be changing your expenses a lot too, even if you're buying the same things. So that's a big one. Another one might be if you're married, a spouse had to take early retirement, or maybe there was a disability, so now some income is down. But on the positive side, we're often seeing, oh, I got this new big increase because I changed my position at work, and now I am going to be able to save more. So those are key factors.
But then you get married and you have a child or a second child.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and then there goes the money. That costs a lot when you have children. So all those things, and so just checking in on it at least every year, getting it a little more refined, so in the future you're always good to make quick decisions if you need to, because sometimes you might even, I lost a spouse, am I going to be okay? Well, we can run those numbers, and we're typically looking at future scenarios. If this happens, you're going to be all right. If this, you need more life insurance or things like that.
All good things to remember. So we are nearing 2024. Good time to do it.
That plan.
Carl, thank you. Always good advice to make sure we are staying on track. Glad you could take a few minutes with us here on Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. Remember, you can see these guests and all the guests that we welcome into our studios. Those videos are on WIBW.com. I also post them on my Facebook page, WIBW Melissa Bruner. And of course, we do have an Eye on Northeast Kansas channel on our YouTube site. That is WIBW 13 News. Check it out there. Click subscribe while you do so. Hope you have a great weekend and week ahead. Until next time, we'll see you on the Red Couch.